That was nice and easy. With the concurrently package, we were able to spin up the backend and the front end. But what's up with this CORS doozy and how we can fix it? And CORS error is probably one of the most annoying errors that you will encounter, especially while you are just starting up with data fetching in JavaScript. Simply because it's not your syntax that's causing it. Again, let me reiterate, the code here is correct. It's just that we're not indicating on our server any origins from which a browser should permit loading resources. And before I show you a great article about it and how we can add the fix, let me quickly showcase something where if I were to go to my client and in a public folder, very, very important, in the public folder, if you set up data.json or pretty much any JSON file for that matter, and then add some kind of dummy code, in my case, that is name is equal to John. And if you go back to the dashboard, and in my case, I'm going to comment this one out, the localhost 5000, because we'll come back to this one and then uncomment my data.json. So essentially, if I'm fetching the contents from data.json in the use effect, now what you'll notice that everything is correct. So let me refresh and check it out. Now I have name is equal to John. So what I'm trying to reiterate is the fact that when we're getting the data from our own server, essentially from the same origin, everything is going to work. The problem is going to be when we're trying to do that from a different server in our script. Now, I also want to point out something where notice when we're fetching something from our own server, we just go here with /. And essentially, this just signals to the server, to the React development server, that the resource is in its own backyard. It's like, hey, /, okay, I need to go and check for this particular resource. Now, of course, if it doesn't exist, then it's a different scenario. But in this case, we do have data.json, and therefore we are successfully fetching the data. All right, so hopefully that is clear. And now let's take a look at the actual error. So what's causing the CORS error and two possible fixes that we can use. And eventually we will go with the proxy one, with the second one. I still wanted to include the first one because I know I'm going to get the questions about it. So I might as well get that out of the way. And if you want to find out more info about the CORS error, here I left a link to a great resource, which is Mozilla Developer Docs. And let me just read a few sentences. Don't worry. I'm not going to read the entire article, but essentially cross-origin resource sharing, or CORS, is an HTTP header-based mechanism that allows the server, and this is very, very important, server to indicate any origins, domain scheme, and port other than its own from which a browser should permit loading resources. So again, when we have our own origin, there's no issue. Everything works like peaches. The problem starts when we're trying to get something from a different origin. And essentially they have a very, very nice image that showcases that. And now let me read this and then I'm going to go over this one more time. So for security reasons, browsers restrict cross-origin HTTP requests initiated from the scripts. Our scenario, correct? For example, blah, 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 fetch API follow the same origin policy. This means that web application using those APIs can only request resources from the same origin the application was loaded from, unless the response from the origins includes the right CORS headers. And essentially here they give you that, if you have domain A and then you have HTTP request, then unless there's proper headers, you won't be able to get data from domain B and more specifically data.json. So essentially something similar that I just showcased here in our code example. And once we know what is the error, now let's take a look at our two fixes.